All right, another video. 2009 Ford Hybrid Escape. And we are working on the thermostat. Got a P0128 check engine code thermostat. I think it's stuck open and my check engine line is not going off and I have to pass inspection. So anyway, in front of the car. Again, this is a hybrid version. You got a tensioner pulley here. We need to get rid of this. So this is front passenger side. Down below, let me see if I can zoom in and show you where this bad boy is, but you can see the radiator hoses down there. Should be right under, where's my camera? Anyway, this is me pointing with my finger. So anyway, it's up underneath there. We're going to take off a couple things. Replaced it. Let's see, we got a off-brand from O'Reilly's. It was like 35 bucks. The Motorcraft's about 50. They didn't have it in stock. I just wanted to get this done. Just watch another video. All the dude did was complain about it. If you got to do it, you got to do it. So quit bitching and muscle up. So anyway, let me see if I can help you guys out. More to come. All right, so far so good. We just pulled the tensioner off. I figured I'd show you what it looks like. Not too bad. So this thing sits in here. This is a 16, no, actually it's a 17 millimeter socket on here. So this in place, a little wonky, just use a 2-inch extension. Got in and around this stuff. So you're gonna put your socket on that with your ratchet and you're gonna twist this towards the firewall, right? Away from the front towards the cab. And you're gonna release the tension on that belt. So once you do that, slide the belt off. And then this thing will rest back into position and your belt will be loose. I just left the belt hanging there so I don't have to thread it, I guess, through all the other pulleys. I'm going to leave it the way it is. I've been in that issue before. Sometimes you end up creating a fucking mess. Pardon my French. But anyway, so I just left it into place. And there are 3 bolts. It's a 10 mil on these. So you got 2 on the bottom and 1 on the top. And they were pretty easy. So you can see those are kind of down there, the two lower ones. You got the one on the right here. This one doesn't do anything, but that'll free you up. And then just below that is our thermostat. So I may pull these hoses off. Again, I'm going to try to do this as quick and simple as I can. It looks like there's a electrical plug, one of those snap pull plug connectors here. But I'm hoping we can sneak in right between there. Did watch another video. I think those are 8 mils down there. Here are these screws that hold that tensioner. You can see there, a good 3-inch screw that hold those in. So anyway, not bad. These were 10 mil, and that's 16 mil on your tensioner bolt so far. More to come. All right, so I did I misspoke earlier. That tensioner pulley is a 17 mil correction. Then underneath here, that electrical plug wasn't easy. So the top of it that's facing you is this part. Of course, the pin to grab and release it is on the underside. So it's on, it's on that piece. So I had to get a screwdriver. There's a little pop tab in there. Let me see if I can zoom in on that. It's down there somewhere. Yeah, I think it's right there in the, right here. Is that it? Anyway, I had to bust that with I just got the screwdriver in there and popped it off. I'll have to end up zip tying it or something. But then once you get it free, you can see these two. Oh, man, my camera stuff is horrible. These two, the push pin on the bottom side is how you get this to separate. So once you separate this, you're going to want to pull this crap out of the way. This one's going to be a little wonky because you see that bolt way back there. Let me see if I can get it. That one's, man, this is hard to see. So that's under there. I'm sorry about the camera. I'm trying to show you guys what we got here. Now there's a very tough bolt, or nut, I should say. So you've got one visible, that one there. There's one to the right. It's going to be tucked in. So I'm downgrading from the 3/8 socket to a smaller 1/4 inch. But there's your 1/4 inch right there, something a little smaller to get in. We'll see. All right, so to free up more space, we're pulling off these coolant hoses. So pretty straightforward. There were 2 smaller ones here. They're down here, and you've got this larger, and then an even bigger one here that split off. See the Y in the top. They should all lay pretty much back in, but you know, good trick. These things have been on there for a long time. So once you get these clamps off and wiggle them back, the hoses are actually kind of seized on these nipples. So you just want to put that on there, a little bit of pressure and give it a little twist. You might have to work it back and forth, different angles. Definitely don't want to break these guys. Now you've turned a project into a project. This stuff's in pretty good shape though, but anyway, just be careful when you're doing that. But anyway, hopefully that's going to free up some space to give us some more wiggle room, because we got to get down in there. I'm trying to get this clamp off, that hose clamp off on that radiator hose, the larger diameter, and I snapped one of these pins off right here. So now I don't have it, I hardly have anything to grab. Part of me wants to cut it. I don't want to damage the hose, because again, I don't want to turn that into a whole nother project. But that's what's leading me to get this space opened up here, so I have a little bit more room. And these were easy to move, so anyway, just a little development. All right, well, I'm embarrassed to admit this, but this is what's happened. I can't get that clamp off the larger hose. I've tried a variety of things. I've been working on this for about 40 minutes. So I'm going to regroup. I did get the other one off. You see the smaller diameter? That thing wiggled off just fine. So I think I've compromised that radiator hose, the larger one. I got the plunge saw out, and I used it to try to cut that off, and I think I damaged the hose. It's only about a 12-14 inch length. Looks like it's fairly easy to replace. So I'm at the point where I think I'm just going to start cutting this thing off. You do have to be careful though, because metal with the saw is creating sparks. Luckily this is coolant, but I mean, if you've got a leaky fuel issue and fuel odor underneath, you know, possible sparks and explosions, so definitely don't do that. But anyway, just FYI, so this is the shit pile I'm in, and we've got the Panthers starting at 1 against the Seahawks, and I'm gonna go watch that. And it's right before New Year's, so I've got 4 days off next week with a holiday, so I'll be able to just sideline this. But we are in. This is the pickle I've gotten myself into right now. So anyway, look, we got a spare vehicle. So I'm gonna sideline this. I'll pick this back up and hopefully have some answers on what's going on here. I will let you know though, as soon as I pulled those hoses off, we started leaking radiator fluid, coolant, as you would expect. I was a little late on getting my tub underneath her. I got a little concrete mixing tub under there to catch stuff. But this stuff's bad. That was ethylene glycol. It's no good for animals. So if you got a cat you want to get rid of, go ahead and let them lick that up. It's sweet and it'll kill them, but we don't want to do that. So anyway, I'm going to rinse that off into the grass, and I'm sure it's environmentally friendly. Almost 100% possibly certain that that could be the case. For any of you tree huggers out there, I apologize. Anyway, we'll pick back up on this. Oh, and I did use a rubber band. Those are pretty handy to get this wire out of the way. The other one I just tucked away underneath, but that's a good little helpful trick too. Alright, so I had a hell of a time trying to get this fucking thermostat off, pardon my French. So the hose clamp, you can see the hose clamp on here. It's got those tabs, just like this one has 2 tabs. But when I went to put the clamps on it, the pliers, channel locks, it broke the tab off. So there was no way to get opposing force on that thing to open. So I was cutting and messing. But long story short, I ended up compromising the hose. Then I had to find another hose, and it's hard to find. Here's the part number, Napa. There are a variety of others, but ironically this thing is hard to find. So most of what I found online was out of stock. So anyway, good luck. Try Rock Auto. They got a variety of different makes and models, but this thing cost me local $36, which I wasn't too happy about. But either way, so what I'm going to do is I took this piece out whole. I'm going to go ahead and put this one back in. So when you are buying this, go ahead and get yourself replacement hose clamps. ID's about 1 1/4, OD's about 1 1/2. And frickin' Home Depot and Lowe's had like an in-between size. It was either almost right at the right size or like 2 inch, very big. So I ended up buying this, whatever this is, a Fernco, and which comes with 2 hose clamps on it that were more of a appropriate size. So this was $8, including the fitting and 2 clamps, 2 brand new clamps, and but the clamps are like $2.50 each. So I like the size better. That way you don't have a lot of extra lead on those on the end, and the one smaller might not have fit. But either way, so I'm going to put this back in whole. I had this tight loose. I have it tightened, but it's loose, so I can get this in the right place once I get that in there. That third screw on the bottom here was a little tough. Here are those screws that came out. They're only about an inch and a quarter. Those are the screws that hold that in, just the 3. And but that one's a bare underneath. You can't see it, so you kind of got to fish that one in. But I used a 2-inch extension. Where's the extension that I used? Oh, that's it right here. So that again was an 8mm, and I just used a 2-inch extension to get it around the corner. So either way, I'm gonna go ahead and put this thing back. I definitely didn't want to jeopardize putting this hose back in, knowing that I had kind of mauled it and messed it up while I was trying to get that clamp off. So went ahead and replaced it. And then this just attaches to the lower radiator hose down underneath, which you can't really see, but it's going to go in under here. It's fairly easy to get to. So anyway, let me see if we can get this thing wrapped up. All right, well, I thought I was onto a good idea. The hose and the thermostat came out together, so I was like, well, why don't I put it in together? But what happens is the hose puts a little bit of pressure on it a certain way, so I detached that. The hose is actually connected to the lower. It's dangling, but I'm not going to connect it to this until I actually get it nice and seated, because those holes are kind of hard to find. So you want this to fit in there nice and freely. Get each of those screws in loosely, and then obviously tighten them all down kind of at the same time. You know, get them all kind of close, tighten them all up a little bit equally, and then put your final torque on it. You don't ever put something in and just tighten one down. It's never going to seat. And then also you have this gasket, so you want to make sure that that mating surface up against that housing, the engine block housing, is nice and clean. Some people might need a sand, but the other one came off nice and clean, so I just got a rag and wiped it all off. So there's a nice flat, clean flat surface for that gasket to seal to, and you can even put oil around that too. Just dab your little bit of oil to lubricate that seal before you put it in. All right, so getting that in actually wasn't that bad once I took the hose off. You know, your first thought is, do I want to get that farthest one in? Let me zoom in. Do I want to get that bottom right hardest one in first? No, the answer is you do the easiest one first. They're on the top left, and then you just get it to finger tight. And then I did the top right one, got it to finger tight, and by the time those 2 bolts are aligned, then that bottom one, I just fished it underneath and zoom in again. Just fished underneath, and it found the hole and found the threads just perfect. So that's the easier way to do it. A good trick, if you've watched any of my other videos, probably not, but you get a little piece of paper or something and stick it inside the socket. I just go all the way across with it, and you can stick the bolt head in there, and it helps snug it in there so that you don't lose the bolt. It'll kind of wedge in there nice and tight, and you can just pull this off. You can kind of see the indentation from where the bolt head's set up in there. That way you don't drop the bolt. And then you can actually see the tape that fell off from the other ones that I did it. But anyway, that's a good trick. So anyway, these are all in there finger tight. I'm going to go ahead and get the ratchet and tighten those up, and we'll start buttoning this thing down, but I think it's looking pretty good. Alright, so yeah, things are coming along nice. Pay attention to your hose clamp. Obviously you got to put the hose clamps on the hose first before you put it over your nipple. And every time I do that, it autofocuses on my hand. But you just want to make sure that that nut head is accessible. At first I thought it was a short screwdriver to get, or nut driver to get down on there, but the longer one actually worked because I can get my hand free. So anyway, that's just align that properly. And then also, where's this flashlight? For the bottom one, kind of align the other one up loosely so it's facing upward as well. I'll probably need that smaller screwdriver down on the bottom one. Alright, so the thermostat is in. So I need to reroute, make sure that belt gets back on. I got to put the tensioner back on, which shouldn't be too bad. So low-hanging fruit right now. I got to plug this plug back in. This rubber band has kept that plug out of the way pretty nicely. Because actually, if I didn't do that, there's a chance you can bury that kind of behind the thermostat because it'll fall down there. So you definitely want to keep that thing up while you're doing the work. And this last, where's that last hose clamp down there? You said hose clamp, pain in the ass to get to. So I ended up just getting the long 1/4 inch ratchet, and I was able to go down through the tubes here. Again, you just want to make sure that nut head screw head is lined up properly. And it might even be a good application for those hose clamps that have the thumb tabs on them. You know, they just like the butterfly ears. So you can tab, because that, you know, you could get your hand down in there and tighten them down. I saw them at the shop. I just didn't buy any. Didn't think I needed them. So might be handy in either of those cases. But all in all, I think that was easier than dealing with those the factory clamps, especially that piece of shit that didn't work. I think it was easier doing a hose clamp than these quick clamp things. But anyway, we're pretty much done. If I pick up on anything else, I'll share it with you at the end. But we just got to put that tensioner back in and get that belt routed, and hopefully our check engine light goes off. Thanks. Alright, so we're wrapping this up. I don't know if I showed you guys the part number on this thermostat. That's O'Reilly's, Murray. Alright, you can take a picture of that or pause it. Apparently, I get the yellow kind. They got a chart in there. I don't know what the yellow means, something, but anyway, the coolant, because you know we did have to drain the system. So one trick, I think I said it was between 16 or 17 mils on the tensioner. It's a 17 mil socket, but what I noticed is when I put that on there to get the belt on the tensioner, I had all these hoses. Remember, I pulled these hoses off, set aside. They went right back in there pretty easily. I guess I could have showed you this before, but the handle, this ratchet handle, by the time I put it here, put it on that bolt and moved it, the ratchet handle was hitting this tank. I'm like, man, do I have to take that off? That sucks. But all I had to do was just go way back under here and get the ratchet to bite as far as I possibly could, so that I could get as much tension as I could, because I was only going like from here to there. But by the time I went way up underneath, I was able to get more position, more of an angle on it to get it, and by then I had enough range of motion to put that belt on. And my belt was replaced not too long ago, a couple years ago, but obviously if your serpentine belt there is showing signs of fading or cracking or wear, this is a great time to replace it. So anyway, kill a couple birds with one stone. Anyway, we're done. Hope this video helps. Appreciate it. Good luck. Just make sure when you guys do fill your radiator system that once you close everything up, remember there is going to be an air gap in between the closed thermostat and the engine, so you're going to want to let it close the system up, put your radiator cap on after filling, let the engine reach a hot operating temperature, shut everything off, let it cool again. Do not never open your radiator cap when the engine is hot. It'll explode and you'll burn yourself with all the heat and pressure from the coolant. But once it does get down to a cool temperature, open the cap up and top it off again, because that system is designed to circulate, and it won't circulate until you get it hot. So just make sure you do top it off and fill in any of those air bubbles and gaps to make sure the loop's full. Good luck.